You're listening to the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. Now here's your hosts, Kevin, Derek, and Alex.
All right, and welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. I am Derek, and I'm going to be rocking at the old solo dolo tonight. Kevin's got the work thing going on tonight, and so it's just going to be me here, but we'll, of course, make sure that we're rocking and rolling, getting you guys all the fantasy football advice that you need in order to make it out of week 14 and put yourselves in the best position to be able to rock and roll and make that playoff push here. So you have questions, comments, anything like that, let's throw those in the chat. Let's get those things rocking and rolling. Let's get those things going, help you guys get fully ready for this week 14. This, of course, is the Friday night fantasy football lights. And you know how we do it. We go through all the spreads, the over-unders, some props in there, as well as go through and talk about all the good stuff and answer all the questions that you got for the fantasy football here and make sure that we're really rocking and rolling there. So you can, in the meantime, when we're not live, you can find us on all the socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, at Good Old Boys FF. You can see it right up there, as well as, on the YouTubes, right? We go live on YouTube, go live on Twitch, on Twitter. You can find us on Twitch at twitch.tv/goodoldboysff. And of course, the best way to support this independent podcast is to head over to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@goodoldboysff. And give us a subscribe over there and get us rocking and rolling. So some interesting things last night, right? Like, I know y'all probably saw some Thursday night football, and guess what? The legend of Baker grows, continues, right? The not gonna lie, right? Like the Baker's a polarizing figure, all of that. As many of you know, I'm an Oklahoma fan, and so have rooted for Baker since he was back. We were shouting Boomer Sooner when he was throwing touchdowns down there in Norman. But regardless, right? So, he's had some ups and downs. Last night was definitely an up, and didn't look great until about 5 minutes left, and came through. The Rams pulling the comeback win, and it's interesting because not many quarterbacks coming off of 2 days, getting with the team and even getting a chance to play, much less be in a position to help lead the team back from on a comeback there. So it'll be interesting to see how the Rams deal with that going forward, and what Baker is able to make of this next chance that he's gotten here. So interesting thing to see there. It was fun to watch, but this is still not one of those that you're going to be adding Baker to any of your fantasy rosters. So he's not a starting guy for your fantasy rosters here as we go towards playoff times. I would not be adding him even in those super flex leagues. But again, guys, do you have any questions, comments, anything like that? Throw them in the chat. Let's get these things rocking and rolling. Let's get these things talked about so we can get you guys all squared away here heading into week 14. And for some of y'all, week 14 is going to be the prove it week. Is it the week that you make it into the playoffs, or is it the because of week 14 you come up a little bit short? So again, if you have questions, anything like that, start sits, all that good stuff, let's throw it out there. Let's talk about those. Let's get those things ready to rock and roll for you. But we're going to go ahead and head right into our first matchup here. We have the Jets and the Bills. They're facing off here. The Bills are favored by 10 in this one. The over-under on this thing is 43 points. So kind of an interesting spread there, right? This is one of those that the Jets won this matchup the last time these two teams met. And, so it's interesting to see the Bills getting a full 10-point swing there. I get it. The Jets have another quarterback yet again at the helm here. And it was kind of an ugly game, a game we didn't expect from this Bills-Jets game the last time these two teams went about squaring off there. But I got to go with the Jets here, right? 10 points is a long way for them to cover, especially when these two teams ended up squaring off so close against each other. Even a few weeks ago, the Jets ended up pulling out the victory there. So I'm going to take the Jets to cover. I think this is more of a touchdown game than it is a touchdown and field goal game. But I'm going to take the over. I do think that both of these teams can get 20 points ish. Realistically, I see this being about a 27-20 type of game here with going to the Bills here on the favored. This there's expects to be some precipitation, some wind, some of that out there in Buffalo, but not an overly nasty matchup compared to what things can be in Buffalo. A prop that I really like in this one, Mike White over 240.5 passing yards. He's had 2 straight games over 300 yards as the Jets starting quarterback, and 3 of the last 4 quarterbacks the Bills have played have put up 240 or more passing yards in those matchups there. So I think that there's a good chance that we're going to see Mike White, clear that mark on this one. And question coming in from Jaden. Welcome back to the chat there, Jaden. If Saquon is out, do I drop Hunt or Jamison Williams for backup? At that point, I'm probably going to take, I'm probably going to drop Jamison Williams, right? So, Jaden, if memory serves right, that's a redraft type of league. There's no keepers, there's no draft penalties for keepers, some of that kind of stuff. And so, Jamison Williams is a guy that's, I'm very intrigued about his long-term standing and what it's going to look like down the road, and especially for Dynasty. Really, really like his Dynasty prospects here. But for redraft, I'm not looking to be starting Jamison Williams really in any of that's a desperation play if I have to start Jamison Williams. And I know that you're in that 14-team league, so it's a much thinner waiver wire, things like that. So I'm probably going to drop Jamison Williams between the two of those. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with Saquon, right? Like a little bit banged up here. We don't know fully if he's going to go. Those neck injuries are always kind of, little bit proceed with caution on those, especially when we come through and he was limited in practice both yesterday and today because of that. But I don't know that Matt Breida is really a guy that you're looking to really go up against, right? They're up against a tough matchup out there against Philly, right? Philly has a pretty decent ranked defense, right? Overall, they're 27th in that, a little bit more favorable towards running backs on this one, but they're still better than league average, and running backs tend to put up about 3% less points than they do even against league average there. So you answered the question in there, right? Like I would go ahead and play Najee in that aspect there. I think, and we'll get to that Pittsburgh game here in a little bit, but I've got Najee right now, and I've got Najee as a top 24 back. So he's an easy RB2 for me this week. So, and I think even if Saquon misses completely, I don't necessarily see Matt Breida being the answer to your fantasy hopes here. Matt Breida, sure. I mean, even if he plays and he plays well, I think you see him maybe get to double digits in the carries, maybe get to double digit opportunities there. So yeah, I don't know that I'm going to risk my playoffs, because I think you're also in your first week of your playoffs there. I don't know that I'm going to risk a playoff approach there on Matt Breida should Saquon miss, especially when I've got somebody like Najee that I could plug in place of him. So hopefully that answered your question there, Jaden. But yeah, Najee greater than Matt Breida is my summation there. So already, again, guys, any questions, anything like that, let's throw them in the chat. Let's go ahead and get talking about them. We're going to go ahead and head to our next matchup here. We've got the Browns. We've got the Bengals. Bengals favored by 5.5 in this matchup, and over under 46.5 on this one. So an interesting, matchup here. This is one of those that, everybody listened to the last Friday show. We told you to be very cautious with the Deshaun Watson coming back in there. Called for several of the props to not hit around him, and all of those kind of things came true, right? Some of that was the fact that he needed to get back and get acclimated. Some of that was the fact that the Texans are so easy on the ground that teams don't have much of a reason to pass. Now, that is not going to be the case here. Cincinnati, you're going to have to throw the ball a bit here when it comes down to it in order to keep pace with the Bengals, who have gotten hot here, right? The Bengals putting up 28 or more points in many of their last meetings here. So I do like the over when this thing comes through, and I do think that this is going to be a pretty good matchup here. I think this is one that we ultimately see it come down to a field goal, where I think the Bengals win. The Bengals win by about 3. So I'm going to take Cleveland to cover. I do like the over. I'm also going to take Deshaun Watson to shake off the rust there, and we saw that start to happen here as the game went along last week. And I'm gonna say that he's gonna go over 215.5 passing yards, and the Browns are likely gonna have to throw the ball a little bit more here to stay in this matchup and keep this game close. So this one should be a very interesting one to watch and see how this one comes through here. Next matchup here. And this one here was a doozy when you look at the line. Cowboys favored by 17.5. The over-under is 44. And this is one of those that anytime I see a double-digit line, it usually kind of makes me go do a double take and go, oh my gosh, that is a massive line. But I think Dallas can still cover this thing, right? Dallas is coming on hot at the right time. Their defense looking pretty good. They're opportunistic on the defensive side of things, can take the ball away. Houston likes to turn the ball over. So, yeah, that could be a matchup made in heaven there for the Dallas defense. Not only that, the Houston Texans pretty bad when it comes to converting third downs there. So this is one of those that I see a lot of kind of 3 and outs on this one. The Cowboys flipping the field quite a bit on this game here. So I do see that coming to play. Now, that also being the case there, the Texans really bad against the run, right? The Cowboys probably have the best tandem duo in the league right now when it comes to their running back by committee between Pollard and Zeke. And I think both of these guys are going to have field days when it's all said and done here. You're going to see lots of yardage put up, lots of statistics put up from the running back position, which means a running clock and a lot of running clock at that. So I do think that you're going to see Dallas cover. This is going to be a tight one to cover, but still, I think they managed to do it. I do think we see the under on this thing. This realistically is one in my mind. I think I'm going to see this thing come down to where Dallas puts up 30, 35 points, and you see the Texans maybe put up between about 6 and 10 in this one. So it's going to be tight on that over under, but I do think that we're going to see this thing probably play out with a 35-7 type of line when this thing's all said and done. So I like Dallas. I like the under. I do like Dak to go over 236.5 passing yards. I think that he'll get enough work done in the first half there and throughout this thing to be able to get the job done and cover that over on that one. So great. That's one of those that hopefully you get a different game in your market than that is the headline there. So, alrighty, let's go ahead and move on here to the next matchup. We've got the Vikings. We've got the Lions. Lions are favored by 2 points on this one. The over-under is 51.5. And very interesting line here when you look at the fact that you have a team that is 10-2 as the underdog to a 5-7 team. I don't remember the last time I saw that one happen. And quite frankly, if you had the early line there where the Vikings were favored by a 0.5 point and you took the Lions, you're probably liking that one a lot better than the Lions spotting 2 points to the Vikings team. Now, this one here is going to be a close matchup. This one, I think, will be a field goal game when it's all said and done to it. I do think that Minnesota gets close enough. Realistically, I think they probably find a way to win this game. But you would have to start to think that luck would run out. They're like 9-0 against in 1-score games there. And usually that is much more of a 50-50 mixture in those ones. So the Vikings have managed to kind of, keep pace on that one. The fact that they're getting points is really what's kind of leading me to this one. I do like the over in this one. Both of these teams managed to put up points. The Lions a little bit more forgiving on the offensive side or defensive side of the ball, although they've been getting stronger as the season goes along. But most games in Detroit have averaged about 53 points or more this season. So I do like the fact that the Lions and the Vikings will hit the over on that. I do also like a prop with DeAndre Swift to go over 35.5 rushing yards. That one seems a little low to me. And especially if he's going to continue getting some of the bulk of the carries and we see him with about, 15 to 20 touches like we saw this last week, that could be a very easy smash for him to clear that kind of number there. So, all righty. We're going to go ahead and head here to the next matchup here. You got Jacksonville. You got Tennessee. So the Jaguars and Titans squaring off here. Titans favored by 3.5. Over under on this one is 41. And, an interesting matchup here, right? Like, this is one of those you would have expected the Titans to probably be favored by a little bit more. Jacksonville's kind of struggled here a little bit. I think the fact that the Titans, you kind of got rolled over last week against the Eagles, definitely went into affecting the line on this one. But I do like Tennessee to cover. I think that they can win this one, by 5 or 6 when it's all said and done. That's even with Treylon Burks missing, because Derrick Henry, all you need is a Derrick Henry for that Tennessee offense. And if they can get him rolling, I think that he will, power the day and lead that thing through. Tennessee's been very stout against the run. So, that's really going to kind of lead Jacksonville to have to be a little bit more one-dimensional out there. So, we could see some decent numbers from Trevor Lawrence and some of that receiving core there. Travis Etienne worries me a little bit this week for fantasy, something that I'm going to have to deal with in my home league there. But I do think a prop in this one that I really like is Derrick Henry over 10.5 receiving yards. I think he can smash that one. Again, this is one of those that he could carry that one out in one play, little check down or little screen type of opportunity there. And I think he can smash that one. So really like the Derrick Henry over 10.5 receiving yards on this prop here. All righty. We're just going to head right into the next matchup here. We've got the Eagles. We've got the Giants. Eagles favored by 7. The over-under on this one is 44.5. And divisional matchup here. Both of these teams tend to, these NFC East division games tend to play pretty tight there. Both of these teams have been playing pretty well on the defensive side of the ball here. But I got to take Philly, right? They're running red hot. I do think that they managed to win this thing by a touchdown going away. But I do think that you're going to see the under on this thing. This one feels a lot like a 24-17 type of matchup. And so I think that's about what you're going to see this one play out as. Jaden hit it up earlier. Saquon is very questionable going into this game. The Giants really don't have much of a receiving core. You got Darius Slate and Richie James that you're throwing the ball to. Maybe we'll see a little bit more Daniel Bellinger when this thing's all said and done here. But this is one of those that I really like the Eagles, especially if we see Saquon end up being limited or missing time in this one. Jalen Hurts, though, a prop I really like on this one, over 225.5 passing yards. Definitely looked good as a passer last week, and the Giants have tended to give up a few passing yards there as a defensive unit there. So I think that we will see the Eagles manage to just kind of fly high on this one and take this game going away, and Jalen Hurts going over that 225.5 passing yards. All righty, let's go ahead and we're going to hit up this next matchup here. We've got the Ravens. We've got the Steelers. Steelers favored by 2. The over-under on this one is 36.5. And this one here was one of the most intriguing matchups that I saw on this one, and one of the most intriguing lines on this one, right? We're all anticipating, Lamar Jackson going to miss Tyler Huntley, the guy to start down there. And it really seems because of the Lamar news on this one, the line flipped pretty good there, to the point where, Steelers are now favored in this one. Well, the Steelers have done very well, and they managed to win a lot of games when TJ Watt is in there, and they lose games when he's not in there. I don't know that the Ravens offense is that much of a notch down under Tyler Huntley. They tend to play very, very well under Tyler Huntley. I think this game is going to be incredibly close. I think Baltimore ends up probably winning this thing going away. I do think we see the over 37.5. It seems extremely low on this one. Pittsburgh tends to put up 20 plus points at home on this thing, even though, Baltimore's been playing good defensively. The Steelers, have been playing pretty well on defense as well, but the Ravens, I think, can manage to easily get into the 20s as well. So this matchup seems like you're going to see some points more than 37 points put up on this one. So I do like the over on that one. I do like the Ravens to cover the spread on this thing. And I do like Mark Andrews to go over 4.5 receptions in this one. So last year under Tyler Huntley, they fed Mark Andrews the ball and just kept peppering him with targets. And I think that continues here, right? Mark Andrews, big body, easy target for a quarterback to find. And especially when you're talking, you start backup quarterbacks, things like that. They like some of those checkdowns, and Mark Andrews fits that bill. So I think that there's a very, big reason. I think there's a very real opportunity that we can see Mark Andrews get 8-9 targets in this thing and easily, come away with 6 receptions. So I really like that one. Alex over on the YouTube asking, should I start Pierce or Ayuk this week in a full point PPR? Good matchups there, right? You've got some good things there. Now, let's just take a look here and see what we've got. Dameon Pierce. Right now, I've got him ranked top 20 back at Dallas. It's a tough matchup. Dallas has been tougher as a defensive unit, right? They tend not to give up many points overall to opposing offenses, and they tend to give up not many points to opposing running backs. They're right now, running backs are scoring about 18% less points against the average when it comes to that. So Dameon Pierce, tough matchup there. Let's go ahead and take a look here at Ayuk, who is going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week in a matchup that should be interesting. There are lots of storylines going on there. Certainly not the matchup we all thought that we'd be getting when this game originally was on the schedule there. But Brandon Ayuk, I see him being a fringe kind of wide receiver 2 this week. So let's just take a look here and see. I've got these guys kind of close. They're back end two at their respective positions there. But I think Pierce is probably going to give you a little bit safer floor at this one. And I think that Brandon Ayuk is going to give you a little bit higher ceiling when it's all said and done. But the fact that you've got a backup quarterback concerns me a fair bit there. So Alex, to kind of bring that thing full circle, some of that is going to depend upon what you need and what you need to win, right? If you need a floor play, I think Dameon Pierce provides you the floor because I think he's still going to get you somewhere in the neighborhood between 15 and 20 total opportunities when this thing's all said and done. Brandon Ayuk, even though he's going to probably get, call it 25% of the target share on this thing, there's a real chance that he's looking at maybe 8 or 9 targets there. So some of that is going to be a little bit dependent there. And would you go Bam Knight over both of them? That's a depends answer in there as well. But Bam Knight, if Michael Carter is going to miss, Bam Knight is a great play in there. The problem is that if Carter plays, you're going to have a lot of that workload kind of muddled in there. And I think Carter should play, right? He put in a full week of practice. There's really nothing at this point, unless, over the weekend or, on Sunday during warmups or something, like he does something to re-aggravate that ankle. So you'll see Carter get the third down work on that one. I think you'll see him get enough of the rushing opportunity that's going to limit, Knight there as well, to the point where, Knight was somewhat, was fairly efficient last week, but he also just got quite a bit of volume there. So if you're looking at that and Bam Knight goes down to, call it 10 opportunities, even if he maintains, his 5 and change, you're talking about, probably 10 carries, 50 yards. I don't know that we see him necessarily get into the end zone on that one. And you probably see him, get 2 catches for 24 yards. So I think that you've got limited upside there, and you're probably talking about Bam being a lower option there as well, where he doesn't have the ceiling that he certainly doesn't have the ceiling that Ayuk has, and I don't think he has the floor that that Dameon Pierce has. And I'm kind of putting Zonovan Knight right now as kind of that fringe running back too. And I'll go through some of that over. But yeah, Dameon Pierce, I think you're probably looking closer to about 11, 12 points for fantasy. Zonovan Knight, you're probably talking, I'm thinking 8, 9, maybe 10. So they're close. And then as far as where I've kind of got Ayuk projected, I probably have him right about 10 there as well. And they're going to come in different ways there. And so, if I'm ranking those things, I would still leave it the same. I would go Pierce at as the floor play, Ayuk is the ceiling play on that one there. And Bam Knight's a great option. Like if we get the news out there that Michael Carter is going to miss that game, absolutely, I'll start Bam. But short of Michael Carter missing, I don't know that I necessarily want to throw him in my lineup and have him starting in a if I'm in a must-win matchup for Week 14 for playoff purposes, or if my playoffs already started in Week 14. Alrighty, so Terry, welcome back to the chat there, Terry. Kirk, Evans, Connor, Sanders, Cooper, need 2. Terry, remind me, are we talking half point? We talking full point? We talking standard scoring? How we looking at the scoring format here? So, but looking through those guys there, let's just take a look here. All right, full point PPR, Terry says. So let's go through here. Let's look at this guy. Kirk, I see about a wide receiver 15 overall. Let's see Evans here. Mike Evans, a little bit lower than that. So we're talking like wide receiver 19, 20. And Amari Cooper, let's take a look here. Amari Cooper, slightly above Evans, a little bit below Christian Kirk there. Tennessee likes to give up passing options there, so I like Christian Kirk's upside on that. James Conner, the Patriots haven't been necessarily great at that. Man, that's a tough one there. Miles Sanders, let's see here. Miles Sanders. Okay, so if I'm ranking those guys up there in a full point PPR, Terry, I'm probably going to go Christian Kirk. Yeah, I'm going to go Kirk number 1. I like the floor that Miles Sanders gives you, so I'd probably go Kirk 1, Sanders 2, Cooper 3. I think that they're going to have to throw the ball a fair bit out there in Cincinnati this weekend. Then I'm probably going James Conner. Then I'm going with Mike Evans, and that's how I'd kind of rank that thing up 1 through 5. So Kirk, Sanders, Cooper, Conner, Evans is how I see that one. So and then asking Jamal Williams or James Cook. Well, I think you're going to see a lot of points put up in that Detroit and Minnesota matchup there. The line was set 51.5. I called for the over in that one, so I could very much see that being the case. I think the game script is going to be very close for that one there as well. I think that we're going to see a tighter game here from Buffalo and the Bills. I'm sorry, Buffalo and the Jets. I think that you're probably seeing. So realistically, I could see another 10 points scored in the 10 cumulative points scored between the Vikings and all that. So there's some of that comes into play here, but let's just take a look here and see how I actually have these guys ranked. Jamal Williams, okay, top 20 there. And James Cook. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm going to go Jamal Williams, followed by James Cook in that scenario there, Terry. Jamal Williams has a much greater chance of finding the end zone, right? Like that's where he's made his hay all year long. Detroit, when they seemingly get inside about the 5 zone, in the 5 zone, and they're going to run the ball, it seemingly always is Jamal Williams there. James Cook is going to have to make his hay, actually breaking off some yardage and breaking off some runs there. Well, I think that we are seeing the actual breakout coming for him. I think that the touchdown upside is certainly much higher for Jamal Williams there. And it wouldn't surprise me if we see Jamal Williams sneak 2 into the end zone in this game here. James White, I don't think he finds the end zone. So that's going to be kind of how I would roll that one. I think that you're better off rolling the Jamal Williams, but James Cook has certainly been a lot of fun to watch and a lot of fun out there for fantasy these last couple of weeks there. So I certainly get the appeal of wanting to start him, but I would certainly go with the Jamal Williams over James Cook on that one. All right. Next matchup here. Let's go ahead and get into this one. Broncos and the Chiefs. Chiefs coming to town. The Chiefs are favored by 9.5. The over-under on this one is 44. So I'm going to take the under on this one, right? The under, Denver just seems to manage to hold the line enough to keep the under on that one. So I think that you probably see Kansas City score 24 points or so. Let's go crazy. Let's say that they get to 27, right? Well over the average the Broncos have given up all season long. But let's say they get to 24, 27 points. I don't know that you're going to see the Broncos be able to keep pace with this thing and then put up more than, 13 points, 10, 13 points. So I like the under on this one. I think that the total points on this one is going to be somewhere around about 34, 37 total points on this one. So that means I also like Kansas City to cover that 9.5. The Broncos, again, can't seem to do anything when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. I was really upset, though, with Vegas in this one and the bookkeepers out there because my go-to all season long had been Russell Wilson under 1.5 passing touchdowns. The amount of times that has hit is, been my favorite fend all season long. And they got rid of that one for me and brought it down to Russell Wilson. They set the bar at 0.5 passing touchdowns on that one. And, so I had to pivot off my normal Broncos prop here. And we're going to take a rushing prop when it's in this game here. I know this wasn't on the Kansas City side. We're expecting the ball to be moving around through the air quite a bit. Denver, in order to try and do anything on this one, is going to have to try and just keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. Well, how do you do that? You run the ball. And Latavius Murray has an over-under of 47.5 rushing yards. I think we see him carry that 47.5 and go over that one. So I'm liking Kansas City to cover. I like the under on this one. I like Lat Murray to go over 47.5 rushing yards when this one's all said and done. All righty, guys, let's go ahead and we're going to hit up this next matchup here. And we're going to be going out to the Bay. Tampa Bay goes to San Francisco, and the Buccaneers 49ers getting together for this one. The Niners favored by 3.5, over under on this one, 37.5. And this one was here, right? Niners have been very dominant on defense. Tampa Bay was one that we thought should be good on defense coming into the season. And I think that you're going to see both teams manage to score just enough points for us to carry over that 37.5 on this one. So I like the over on this one. It's a close one, but it's just a barely kind of thing. This one here is not going to surprise me to look up and see that we got 21-17 in this matchup when it's all said and done, then the Niners win. So I think the Niners covered. I think the over gets touched just barely, but I think the over gets touched. Brock Purdy coming in again, right? Like we talked a little bit earlier about how a lot of these backups tend to like going and getting the rhythm of the game, things like that. I see him being able to target George Kittle here a fair bit. And I think we see Kittle go over 2.5 receptions in this game. So I do think we see some good defensive football here. But I do think we still manage to see San Francisco cover as we see the over, and we see George Kittle get over 2.5 receptions when this thing's all said and done. All righty. We're going to head over here to the next matchup. Carolina, Seattle, the Panthers and the Seahawks getting together. Seattle favored by 3.5. The over under on this one is 44. And this is one here that the Panthers looked pretty decent with Sam Darnold last time we saw them. Managed to put up some pretty good points there. We saw, the resurgence of DJ Moore. Seattle been looking okay all season long, right? But I do think that Seattle manages to cover this thing. So I do like them to win this thing. I do think that we see the over on this one. We can see just enough points from each team that we carry this thing over. So again, this one's not going to surprise me if we see kind of a 27-23 matchup. That's about where I think that one's going to go. A 24-21. Well, yeah, we're going to go with that. So we're going to stick with Seattle. We're going to go the over. I do think that we see D'Onta Foreman go over 63.5 rushing yards. Seattle has been, pretty decent on the defensive side of the ball, but they have been, allowing a couple of plays here and there. And D'Onta Foreman, is a volume king and not going to surprise me for us to see him get, 20-ish carries when this thing's all said and done. I think we managed to see him grind his way to getting over that 63.5 rushing yards. So definitely like that one there. We're going to go ahead and head to our next matchup here, the Sunday night game. We've got the Dolphins. We've got the Chargers. The Dolphins are favored by 3. The over under on this one, 52.5 in the, what is the highest point total of the weekend here, and two teams that put up a lot of points. They tend to do that. However, I think we see the under on this one. So turn of events there. I know with that lead up, y'all thought I was going to say the over, but I think we see the under on this one. 52.5, big point total to get to. I think that we probably see both of these teams end up in a field goal matchup in a pretty tight game here, I think, when this thing's all said and done. So I think we're going to see this one probably play out in a 27-24 type of matchup, which brings us just to the under on that one. But I do think Miami either pushes this thing or manages to cover that. So I think Miami wins this game. I do think that Tua manages to go over 275.5 passing yards. That seems like a pretty low total considering what we've seen from him all season long and what he's been able to do against teams all season long there. Just kind of seemingly managed to get right around 300 yards every single game out there. And I think that continues this one. So I do like the Tua's line on that one and his prop on that one. All righty. We're going to go ahead and head over here to the Monday night game where we got the Patriots. We've got the Cardinals. Patriots favored by 1.5. Over under on this one is 43.5. And the Patriots certainly have not been the Patriots of old as far as the defensive side of things go. Not quite that shutdown defense that we've come to expect in the past, especially right now on the offensive side of the ball or on the receiving side of the ball, where we've just seen guys come out and torch the New England defense through the air. Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs. Now I know that y'all are saying, oh, well, they're both elite wide receivers, and some of that's to be expected. You are right. But you know what? The Cardinals also have an elite wide receiver named DeAndre Hopkins. So I'm looking for DeAndre Hopkins to have a very big game in this one. But I do think that we see New England manage to kind of stifle this thing just enough so that we see the under hit. New England hasn't been putting up a ton of points. The Cardinals offense has been sputtering here and there a little bit, haven't looked exceptional lately. So I think that we're going to see the under come to play on this one. I do think New England manages to sneak out a win on the road here. They're fighting for a playoff spot here. The Cardinals are technically fighting for a playoff spot, but so many things have to break in their direction for them to be able to sneak in there. Like they've got to have a perfect outcome the rest of the way with teams losing, them winning every game, all of that. Like I don't see it necessarily happening. I think this is the game that New England beats them and the Cardinals kind of pack it up rest of the season here. So New England, I think, fired up here. We'll be going into play for a playoff spot. I think they managed to get a win. Prop I really liked on this one, Hunter Henry over 25.5 receiving yards. I know y'all were thinking that I was going to go with the DeAndre Hopkins there because of that lead up that I gave and all of that, talking about how New England has given it up through the air to elite level wide receivers. Well, guess what? The Cardinals have given up points aplenty to opposing tight ends there. In fact, so much so for fantasy purposes, there's a very real possibility that if you were streaming tight ends, just play whoever's playing the Cardinals and you'll be all right all season long there. And Hunter Henry, there's a very, I am playing him in a few different DFS lineups here. I'm playing him in a couple of different type of lineups that we've got that are even that are season long type of things that are points win out type of thing. I think that he manages to have a pretty darn good game here, and that over under at only 25.5 receiving yards seems very low. This seems like one of those we should easily see him probably clear 40 total yards receiving here and probably fall into the end zone. So I like Hunter Henry a lot in this matchup this week. And I'm out of matchups to talk about there, guys. So we'll start kind of winding this thing down, calling it a night here. If you have any questions, comments, anything like that, let's throw them in the chat. Let's talk about them here. We are in week 14 here. And I know for many of y'all, it's the last week of the regular season here. That is the case with our home league. We got the last week of the regular season, and week 15 starts the playoffs for many of us. So, and in a lot of situations, you're probably in a must-win situation or a win and get in type of situation. I know I've got that going on in a few different leagues: a win and get in, a loss, and it comes down to some tiebreakers and some key losses for some other folks for me to secure at that going forward. But again, if you guys have any questions, anything like that, and we're not live, you can hit us up on the socials: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at Good Old Boys FF. You can see it right up there. You can also hit us up on the, leave the comments over there on Twitch and on YouTube. The YouTube is the best place to support this independent podcast. Head over there to youtube.com/at Good Old Boys FF and hit that subscribe button. You can ring the bell. Get all the notifications when we go live. And that's going to pretty well do it for us, guys. So if you have any questions, anything like that, hit us up. Let us know. We should see Kevin back here on Tuesday. Like I said, he had the old JOB thing going on tonight there. So we'll see him back here soon. And I think that's going to do it for us in the Friday Night Fantasy Football Lights. Appreciate everybody tuning in here and joining us on your Friday night. Hit the like button on YouTube when you're watching it over there. All righty, y'all. That's going to do it for us. Have a good one. Be safe. Toodaloo.